Thank you, everyone. So we're going to have question and comment period.
Because the amount of users are certainly a lot less, and the operating costs are going to be a lot higher. Thank you.
Yep. So just on that, I guess, so initially the pre-design was done, I believe, in 2019. There was an update in late 2022, early 2023. You know, there's still, I think, potential, like the system is going to be designed so that eventually the park or Celtic Lodge can tie into the system. That's still the plan. And in terms of development, there's a lot more potential with, as John kind of explained, lot sizes requirements will go down significantly, which opens up for more development, which is what we're anticipating. And I mean, you see what's going on at Cape Smoky, and I know there's some long-term development there that is significant. I'm not sure how much is known, but you know, there is significant development there. So there's lots of potential for, you know, the increases, and that's what we've accounted for in the pre-design.
And my only response to you, I may, is the lot sizes, no matter what size they are, going along Ingonish Beach. I'd like to see you find room for 70 homes, let alone 770. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much for the question.
Have another question and comment?
We have more questions. We'll only limit to
Go
one.
ahead.
Roland like this. Have other types of systems been considered in the creation in the pre-design?
Yeah, so that was, I mean, I guess the initial pre-design was before my time, and the key person that was Bruce. But you know, like another system type would be a lagoon, but they would require a significant amount of land. And with the development that we have planned here, and plus where the location is, it's not really an ideal technology for the area. Typically, lagoons are off away quite a bit further from any kind of developments or residential. But there was different technologies were looked at for sure. I mean, we've done a lot of the SPR plants, like Port Hood, Mabu, Afton. So we know it's very basic. There's not a lot of really things that can go wrong. It's a trusted system that we've done many times in the past. So that's why one of the main reasons why it was selected. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Larry Daphne. I guess this question more for Buddy than may have the answer to this. I'm just wondering, Broad Cove Campground has a septic plant that's been over 40 years been pumping into the lobster ground. I'm wondering if that had any effect. The Celtic Lodge has a system that's been going into the, I guess, the north side. North side, so that's been going out there for how many years? We also have the school in Ingonish Beach that for 40 years pumped raw sewage into the harbor. I'm wondering what effects those have, because I understand the concerns of the fishermen in the area. That's one of the biggest concerns. We need to look after our fishing industry. But this system is going to be, and I'm familiar with systems because I did work on the Broad Cove system as a project manager. This system coming out is way better than what we've had for years. And like you already mentioned, Ingonish Harbor is not a pristine harbor. It has a high level of bacteria in it already. And I made the mistake of going on Facebook last night and looking at all the comments and stuff, and it's great entertainment. But one of the things was that, how would you like to eat clams from the Ingonish Harbor? When I brought clams home as a kid, my father threw them out. As a fisherman, he wouldn't let me eat clams from the Ingonish Harbor. So I guess what I'm trying to say from a fisherman's standpoint, this system is actually cleaner than what's going into the harbor already. And if you go down, and if you go back to the study in 1990, two seniors on the Whitty Shore have told me that they put dye in the septic systems and the water systems and whatnot, washed it for hours, nothing was coming out. 7 o'clock that night, boom, 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 it started showing up, but nobody was there to inspect it. So you know, these systems are made. There's a lot of regulations and stuff. It is safe.
Yeah. Appreciate your comment.
Compared to going to the open ocean, the other one's the harbor.
The school flows into the harbor. Raw sewage for 40 years.
Mr. Donovan?
No, this isn't my question to the board, it's just a rebuttal to Larry. Larry, I fish...
Just say your statement.
Oh, Dave Donovan.
Thank you.
I fish Middle Head, and I don't know if anybody else here has fished Middle Head, but the north side of the head, 20 years ago, that's where we set the majority of our gear. That sewage treatment plant at the Celtic went in there. At one time, I put 120 traps up there to start the season. I now put maybe 20 because the lobsters aren't as plentiful. But the plant, you may not realize this, but the plant hasn't been running for the last 2 years.
I do realize that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
and we're seeing the lobsters come back. So
Well,
I had to question
It's
that.
running now.
What, it wasn't running the lobster season.
Parks can't go over the summer and it's operational.
Okay.
It wasn't running the lobster season.
That was my,
No, that's not your question. Go ahead, sir.
I have a question.
Yes.
My name is Ken Donovan. I'm an English resident. My understanding is that, based on Patrick Austin and a few other people that are speaking for Cape Smoky, is that they plan to spend $1 billion in present and in the future in their development. Is there potential to expand this plant?
Yes, so that's definitely one thing we considered. So obviously Cape Smoky is a big player in the community here. So the plant right now is going to have 2 trains. That'll be the first phase. And then there's going to be a phase 2 and a phase 3 that'll eventually basically mirror the existing or the plant that will be constructed now that will allow for future expansion. So we realize that there is potential for significant development. So that's why we have allowed, and Cape Smoky has provided the land for that to allow for that expansion to happen.
So what is the maximum capacity do you reach?
Excuse me, can you state your name, please?
Sorry, I'm David Barretto, Mr. Meeker. How long will this system last until it needs to be replaced or rebuilt or something like that? And how much can it facilitate? Proposed right now, not what it can do in the future, maybe
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah. So I guess the plant will be really no different than your vehicle. It'll require, regular maintenance, and that's part of the operating. So, there's a number of pumps. So, a pump might go, it gets replaced. I mean, in terms of, the concrete takeage that'll be in the ground, that'll last a lot longer than I'll be around, or it'll last probably most of us in this room. And there will be small upgrades that will have to happen over time. And as mentioned before, this is phase 1, which will have 2 trains. There'll be phase 2 and also phase 3 that will happen, that are being planned for in the future to expand that capacity. I don't remember the number off the top of my head what the maximum flow rate is. That was part of the designer, Bruce. But you have it there?
Yeah.
Okay, 1,400 cubic meters per day is what it's designed for.
In 2045.
Yeah.
How many units?
So basically, that would include all of Ingonish community and all of Britova's current planned development. Now, phase 2 and 3 would come online, say if the parks or if Celtic Lodge decide they want to tie into the system. That would be probably another phase, and then the third phase would be, if there's future development for, say, a Cape Smoky or something else within the community that happens, right?
Go ahead.
My name is Kelsey, I'm a resident at Ingonish. Just wondering from your experience, these going in multiple other small communities, can you speak to what came after that? Like the opportunity for community centers being built or affordable housing or housing in general to expand? Like what did you see happen in communities after they had this installed?
A lot of these plants are before my time, I guess. So to answer that, it's tough for me. That'd be more for Bruce, because he's been around seeing actually some of these plants going in. But of course, there'll be lots of work. That's an immediate kind of benefit that you would see in like any kind of major construction project. There'll be lots of all kinds of trades required to complete this work. So that's definitely an immediate benefit. With this plant coming online, allowing for future development, say of subdivisions, apartment buildings, things like that. That will also generate spin-off more people in the community. That means more taxes for the county, and that could further grow the community centers, various things like that. So there's a lot of spin-off from projects like this. I know I was involved in one, a large project down in Canso on a wind farm project, and the spin-off was great. You know, tons of people coming in, you know, need places to stay, people renting out rooms, restaurants in the area. It just benefited everybody. So it's right from the beginning, construction on through to operating. So, you know, there's potential for more jobs, permanent jobs. You know, there has to be operators that are available to run these plants too. So that's another potential.
Go ahead.
Hi, Gary, this afternoon, Ganesh. Just wondering what's going to be happening with all the solids that are removed from the wastewater treatment.
Yes, that's more for you.
And the way this process works, the first stage is the, call it trash tank if you want, or we call it the ISAM tank, because it's the, it collects all the solids. And typically, there's the kind of solids you want to see go in there. I call it the 3 Ps. It's just poo, pee, and paper. You don't want any plastics or any other whites or whatever. And that's up to the, you know, the people to have discipline to dispose of that on its own. Now moving on, because it's only domestic and it's organic waste, it's collected in that first tank. And it's used as an anoxic zone, and it allows the clear liquids to pass over into the next stage of tank that you saw. The arrows coming up, it's like a surge tank. And then in there's aerator and it sends it over to the reactor. Okay, so you have activated sludge in the reactor, which is good stuff, and then you got the anaerobic sludge that's in the first stage. This system is designed to reduce solids by 75% compared to other treatment processes. And that's just the way it's handled. I won't get into the technology of it all, but I've seen these plants operate containing sludge in that first zone for 4 years before it's removed. And so it's designed to actually reduce the sludge by biology. The biology reduces the sludge by eating it, essentially. And then eventually, of course...
And it's not necessarily biological.
Yeah.
Just making sure all that stuff is removed and how it's
That's an education.
Like even, for example, if laundry waste comes down into the system, this plant's designed to remove phosphates through biology. If there's no chemicals added...
Bleaches?
What?
Bleach?
Bleach?
Yeah, that's chlorine.
Yeah, actually we don't have a lot of problems with bleach, because once it goes into that first zone, the bleach is gone. It's just absorbed. There's enough anaerobic bugs in there to, you can't even burn it up. Unless you, because it's diluted anyways, this is laundry bleach, right? So the worst things are the whites, to be honest with you. Yeah.
So if I can just speak on that, so if that's a concern, and it will be, you know, you're just like Daryl had said before, you want to look after your car that you have, if you want to treat it like that. So we would be responsible for putting out a campaign, like an education campaign, that you want to care for this as well as you can, have it working up to speed. So these are some of the things that you shouldn't flush down the toilet. Brooks, you're first.
Thank you. In relation to the system and the emaciator and everything else, you got a lot of solids going in there, as we said. Flushable wipes in the systems around Nova Scotia have been created a real nightmare, because they can grind up whatever they remats back together again once pipes, right? You've got tampons in there, you've got people dumping down liquids that nobody knows what's going through. No matter all the education programs, they're in a lot of other municipalities, and they still have the problems. And how is that going to be addressed in the system? And that's not just clean water, that's going to be in there, and bits of plastic as well.
That part of the design is not completed yet. We'd have to be looking at a pre-treatment system prior to and you're right about the rematting. I've seen this before. I can't argue with that. And that's something that's still in the design process with myself and Straight.
And if I may, just one response to that is that if none of this has been done yet, if some of this hasn't been considered, why do we have a newsletter that says the contract's been awarded and we're going to start work in the spring?
That's only for the carbonaceous treatment system, okay, for the organics. That's not talking about the pre-treatment system. That hasn't been,
So there's like a grit removal chamber too, which is still going through the design phase, which is like
Nice to
first
have that
pre-treatment.
clarified in the newsletter.
yeah, well, you're probably right, yeah.
Okay.
I'm Carolyn Morty, a resident of Ingonish. You talked about the costs of hooking up and everything like that. Can you tell me how it's going to impact my taxes on a yearly basis? You talked about the overall cost being $15 million and then half of it being covered by federal and provincial grants. So that leaves the $7 million. And how is that going to be spread over and over what period of time on the taxes? So how much per year can I expect my taxes to go up as a result of this project?
So the unfunded part, like I said, it's going to be funded, $2 million directly is from the, $2 million directly from the capital reserve. That's money that is in the bank right now. So we have our current, on our last financial statements, our capital reserve had over $12 million in it. So we have $2 million of that directly going to the project from day one. And then going forward, from that, just the whatever the number was, $5.7 million that we would get a debenture for, so that's debt financed. But the payments would be spread over 10 to 15 years, and that is also going to be paid from the capital reserve, spreads it out over time. So we're not anticipating tax rate increases for the capital costs related to this at all. Leanne kind of said it in the introduction that with development opportunities that are coming in this area, the bigger your tax base is, if all else stays the same, your tax rate goes down. And so the potential for development is that the burden shifts from residential taxpayers more to commercial payers. So that mix of what percentage are residential, what percentage is commercial. If it's more commercial development, tax rates can go down. I mean, I'm not here promising tax rates are going to go down, but if everything else stays the same, the higher your tax base becomes, rates drop. So
I can just to your point though, but when you have a higher population, that's more services. So you can't really say that services or the tax rate's going to drop because you have a larger pool of people that you have to serve and provide services to.
that's right, the numbers that are being proposed from Cape Smoky in particular, the amount of additional revenue that would be coming in would not equal the extra expenses. I'm confident in saying
May I
that.
ask one more question? So given that the world has just since turned on its ear with what's happening down south and the tariffs and everything like that, you've got a plan of the cost of the project. That price could escalate just radically, just given what's going on in the world. And I'm just wondering what kind of plans are in process, and you may just, because it's just happening and it's real time and nobody really knows what's going to happen. I guess it's a matter of us being kept up to date on the costs could radically rise from what you've planned right now, and depending what kind of equipment you get from the States. I'm just thinking of the one that from Straight, does that piece of equipment come from the States?
So the equipment that's been ordered already, like it's been ordered. It is coming from that equipment is coming from the States. So that is a question that we have asked back to the supplier to determine what are these. And I mean, like you had mentioned, this is all new to everybody, so everyone's trying to process it and see how things affect what. And it all this equipment coming is not like a raw material, which seems to be where a lot of the tariffs are hitting. So it's fabricated pieces. So that may not apply, but I said, we're trying to assess that right now and to determine. A lot of the other than that, a lot of the construction will all be local. There'll be lots of rebar, which is one thing. Whether or not that comes from Canada or the States, but with the way things are going now, it seems trying to buy more Canadian, so. You know, like the concrete's all gonna be local and all the building supplies, you know, to keep the building will all be local, so.
Yeah.
The one piece is just that process equipment that's been ordered, which we are looking into right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And just to add, like, council has only approved $16 million. So if we get to a spot where we find out that the costs are way more than that, we gotta come back to the decision table. We're not taking on projects that are bigger than that. That is all that council has approved.
And are we as citizens advised of that? Like, when you come back, if it increases exponentially and you have to go back to your table, how do we know that that's happening?
That's us. We're not gonna put our communities in.
No,
you know.
I'm a new resident, so I don't know. That's where I'm coming from.
I have a question.
Just to add, I think the best place you would find that information is this new website
Yes,
that we did
no.
talk about.
Yeah.
And there is a sign-up sheet here that was failed to be mentioned, that when we do get it up and running, which will be within the coming weeks, that if you want to provide your email address, we can send you the direct link, and that really is going to be the spot where you can go to for the most up-to-date information.
Up to date and questions. Mr. John?
Hi everybody, I don't actually live in Ingonish. I'm Jeff McDonald, I live in Quebec, and I'm the chair of the village commission. And we do actually operate an SBR system, a wastewater treatment plant, that sounds to me like it's very similar to the system that you're proposing here. And just to give people some context, when we were talking about connection bylaws, our sewer connection bylaw was last updated in 2003, so it's old and we know it needs to be updated. Our connection fee was $1,000 back in 2003, and our current sewer rate, similar to what yours, it sounds like you're going to be attaching your sewer consumption to your water consumption. So for us, it's water in, water out. So however many cubic meters of water you use, we calculate that as your sewer rate, and our sewer rate is currently $5.40 per cubic meter. So that maybe might help give you some information around how much stuff might cost. Our system is relatively small in size. So when I drove here, I did a little calculation. It looks like about 13 kilometers or so from Cape Smoky, where the treatment plant would be, to sort of where we are today. Our system is not that large. We have about 400 users. So that gives you an estimate of the cost. So some of my questions would be two things. I did read the pre-engineering design report, or the pre-design engineering report. I would question the growth capacity and comparing Cape Smoky to a ski resort that is located 90 minutes outside of Toronto. I would question the metrics around that in terms of determining growth. I certainly would like be an optimist, but I also think you're being realistic and building right-sized plans is important. It sounds like, again, I'm not an engineer, but it sounds like you're in the 1.4 million liters per day range for your system, which is not dissimilar to ours. The other thing that I would question if I were a resident here would be if we had, the village commission had a request for a single user to come online, we would be asking that they contribute to the capital cost of that. So, and I think as well, probably most folks are aware that the village of Quebec, while we do operate the system, there are users outside of the village limits that are within the system, but the municipality has indicated that the sewer rate should be covering some of that capital cost. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. You can certainly find our sewer bylaw on our webpage if you want to have a look at a sewer bylaw that currently exists in Victoria County, or get in touch with us, because I think the funding questions and the cost per user question is probably not dissimilar. We're not that far apart in terms of the size of our community and what it looks like. But we do have 400 users, and our sewer rate is $5.40 per cubic meter, and our connection rate is $1,000 and likely to go up. Sorry, not many residents in that here, but it is likely to go up when we re-examine that bylaw.
Down the back there over there.
Can I just add?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so we looked at costs in other municipalities that have this, one of which is we used the village of that costing that we had from the past. So what I based some of these numbers on that I've used for operating costs, in the first year we landed at 4.7 meters per cubic meter, not good with the units, but so cubic meters. So $4.70, so slightly under Village of the Deck. But also, when I came up with these numbers, it did not take into consideration some of the huge development numbers that we have heard from Cape Smoky. So I did not include those. That's why I did a year 1 and a year 2 and a year 3. So I kept it conservative and I kept it realistic, and I did not include 700 homes and all that, to show that the costs, where the costs are likely to be in the first couple of years. But
How
then,
many homes did you estimate it at?
Once she finds that number, I should also mention that it is mandatory in the Village of Bath to hook up to the system. It's not optional.
so I think I'm going to finish first.
Yeah.
So in year 1, estimated 150 homes total.
Excuse me, can she finish first, and then we'll take the question? We have the gentleman in the back first. Okay, go ahead.
150 homes were included in year 1, and an apartment building. So that was all that was included in that.
Go ahead, sir.
My name is Joe Williams. Nice to meet you all. Just wanted to make a quick comment on the Village of Deck. I think that's great feedback, first of all. Living here now, I would love to see Ingonish get to a place like the Deck where there are, services and restaurants and places open to go and visit year-round, on weekends, late night, and just to have more availability, more housing. As one person would love to come in and have affordable housing available. This statistic was shared at the start of this presentation. Since 1990, this has been a discussion, and it was determined then that there was no chance of expanding Ingonish unless a wastewater treatment plant was implemented. And this is a fantastic opportunity, as far as I'm hearing, because there's investment and current development that is essentially going to allow this to happen without taxes increasing at a very low cost to the environment. So the way I see it, as someone who hopes to be here a long time and hopes to have things similar to the Deck, that's exciting for me. I understand that I haven't experienced and owned a home nearly as long as some of you here, as my roots aren't necessarily here, but I hope the future is here for me, and it definitely won't be if there's no wastewater treatment plant. So that's the only comment.
My name is Sue Reeves. I have a property that's right on Ingonish Harbor. And my question really is got to do with environmental sustainability. Well, I wholeheartedly agree with having a sewage treatment plant and the whole facility. I think it's a great idea. But I just wondered how you're going to be setting the main lines, because it's kind of disincentivizing me for hooking up, because it's going to be, because I'm fairly close to the harbor, built in 1970, before we were taking these considerations into, my father really wasn't thinking about that. It was just meeting what the code requirements were, putting in a septic field. I'd like to get off of it, but at $250 a foot, I don't know, I couldn't see really where the line was going to be coming down to my building, from my property, but it's going to be a huge capital cost, I see, for me to, notwithstanding $1,000, that's not a problem. It's more, also I'm going to have to do plumbing work within my house in order to hook up. I'm going to have to do a lot of adjustments. So in setting the main line, maybe thinking of the developing the environment and its sustainability, the question is, have you taken into consideration people who live fairly close to the harbor and creating an incentive to, somehow compensate us for the capital cost of connecting into the main line, because we're the ones that might be most at risk for after going into the harbor. That's the question. I don't know who can answer it.
So all of those things are great to hear, so I love those types of comments, because all those factors have not been talked about yet or factored in. So I know, talking to Councillor Donovan, he's saying people are concerned with the cost. And the purpose of doing this is not to put someone out of their home. But part of it is environmental sustainability as well. And so we were also talking on the way down here, you know, maybe to help with those costs, maybe we look at hiring a contractor to come down to do it so that there's one rate that we know how much it is. So those numbers are put up there. Again, we've never built one of these before. We're new at this. But we are ideally having as many people look up to it as we can because it's good for the environment and because it will be good to share the costs around. So all of those things are great ideas. So we'd be very interested in hearing any of the ideas that you have for having people look up to it.
Sir, come back.
Hi, anyway, my name is David Lee, and I know this is a very good opportunity for Ingonish community. And but also I saw the concern is many people retired, many senior people over here very worried about this hookup cost. Is county anyway considers really affordable financial aid for the senior? I think that's most important for our community. I mean, for business, I'm really happy for this project. I'm really looking into it. And but for senior, that's most of people retired. That really don't have much money. And our county really needs to think about how to help them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Doctor?
I'm just going to answer David there. David, we alluded to the person in Ingonish Beach that it's paid over $25,000 for the sewer in.
Yeah.
It took almost a year to get it approved and stuff. But financially, the Department of Housing helped out with it. The Municipality helped out with it. I think he ended up with $10,000. He actually owes and paying loan on the rest of his grants and stuff. So any seniors, depending on their income, they can apply to the Department of Housing. We also had actually Tim's mother needed water one time. We went to the Department of Housing and they assisted with putting water into it. So the Department of Housing is there will help with these costs. Also, it's not just you're knocking about housing and things.
Yeah.
And the other point I want to make is that I want to go back a couple of years. Like this has been on the table for a long time. And what was the reason that it came on time? It's because of housing. Housing was the #1 reason. If you go to Coastal Waters, Main Street, Periwinkle, any of the businesses, they're struggling to get employees. And that's the reason you mentioned things are not open in the evenings and stuff. They don't have enough employees to do it. They have employees willing to come, but they have nowhere to stay. So that was the issue that started. And Erica Folgate, who used to be our economic development officer back years ago before Parker took over, she worked hard to get housing in the area. She met with all the developers in Sydney, across the province. All come back to the same thing. If you don't have septic system and water in the area, we're really not interested because it's too expensive. And if you don't have some tax incentives, they're not interested. So this push started originally from housing. Housing is what it's all about. It's trying to get more houses in the area, trying to get the area to grow, to get people in here to work, and so we can stay open on a regular basis.
How much have we grown since 1990 when that was done?
What's that?
How much has the population base in Ingonish grown since 1990 when that was done? Did we meet or exceed?
It's grown a good bit. It's grown a good bit. Victoria County was one of the only counties that had raises in their population, I think next to Halifax, am I right? We're one of the few that had it. And again, the smoking development is probably the main reason for that. If you look around, a lot of people moved into Ingonish here. I drive down the street, I don't know half the people here anymore. So, you know, there is a lot more people moving into the area.
Sir, down there.
Sure, thank you. Osama Nasrallah from Main Street up here in Ingonish. To be honest, as a restaurant, this is a great project for us. We've been waiting in this, the old owners were telling me for years, and it's finally coming to life. My only concern would be timeline. You know, we think a lot about if this was to start midsummer, where you're blocking our whole parking lot to run a body there. This would be a disaster. This would be hurting us for years to come. It's not for months to come. But timeline is a very important thing, and keeping in mind that if there was road work to be done, which we heard that the county is looking to work on the road, it will be great if we can do these two projects at the same time. If we're putting the pipes down and we're doing the roads at the same time, it's better than, okay, this year we're digging down to change the road, and next year we're blocking you again to do the road. So please keep that in mind. Again, we're very seasonal. Hopefully in the next few years, as Smoky develops, we will be the first to be on the table to open year-round for this community. But as of now, you know, this is just a project that's going to contribute to that, and we really appreciate it. And as you mentioned, the price to change the septic, our septic I think is 20 plus years, and the price just to look at it is almost $40,000 to $50,000 as a business. So this is going to help a lot. Thank you.
Let's David again. I want to add a little bit to David Lee's question about the cost to seniors. It's also the young people. It's every one of us who pays this bill. I mean, we were told, involved with the well property, this is our family that's going to provide it. And we were told that the well system would have been $240 a year max, and we would never exceed that because the municipality had that office and we would pick up the difference. And that has changed. We're up to, I would say my wife and I, just two of us home, and that water bill is about $1,200 a year. Thanks very much. It's very expensive. And now we're looking at numbers here, and as Sharon's wife, I think, said that, where's it going to be going in the future? Where are we going to be? We're looking at $1,500, and that's just on paper. Well, every one of us in the room was a millionaire on paper. But the reality is, when the bills come in, and you guys know this, the engineering firms, you go over budget all the time. There's so many variables that are not considered. So you're looking at that $1,000 hookup, okay, we can eat that. Then when Sue, or maybe she said, Sue said $250 a foot, well, that's something you gotta deal with everybody individually on a big piece of land like that, so you gotta pay for that. That is what it is. But it doesn't seem like I'm gonna get my water in and water out for, the very lowest, two people, $2,500 a year, and that's just to get started. That's not going down the road 10 years, 20 years from now, this system needs to be revamped, it needs to be totally overhauled. You're looking at, if it costs $15 million to do it, I guarantee you, just to overhaul it, you're looking at $3 to $5 million 20 years from now, to end up to that level. For the amount, the numbers go up, we all know that. But we know the amount of people that are going to be putting into that, this facility, it's too expensive for the amount of people that are going on to it. This project that's happening in English, we all wanted it. I don't think there's anybody in here that didn't want the ski lodge to succeed and do it too. I've seen this when I was 17 years old. I knew this was going to happen. And it's a good thing. Like this gentleman said, it's a great thing for them. It's good for the young people getting started. The kids are going to have jobs, going to stay home. I've traveled all around this country working, and many of us in here have retired. We want to be here, but we want to be able to afford to stay here. And I think the numbers on that just really don't equal what's going to come for future billing of water usage. My friend in Austria, same thing. The heat with the biomass. The water comes in, it's hot, it goes through your house, it comes out, it goes back, and that's how they charge you. How much it loses its rate of heat is how you pay your bill. So there is a more accurate way of doing it. But the usage and the hookup and the constant bill there constantly, all the time, it's just a water system. That's extremely high on water. And I'm just putting this all up. This is things like Leanne said. These are things that you're not considering, you have considered, but you don't know how to address the people who come here. There's questions being numbered, like I asked, how many homes would that facilitate? And another lady had it. The engineering firm should have had that like that. I mean, come on. We're all adults here, we all know what's going on, we all understand there's a job going on, we understand that. You come to Ingonish, you're going to put when you looked at Ingonish, in the meetings, saying that you need to develop Ingonish, you need this water system, you need the treatment plant. Okay, I agree with you. but North Bay doesn't need it. I don't get that. Niels Harbor doesn't need it right there. This project is what kicked it off, and every one of us in here knows that. And we can't deny it. They're doing a big project here. They need this system. And it seems that the people are gonna have to pick up the tab. And according to numbers and reality, 150 homes is a lot of money, $15 million. It's a lot of money.
I just want to comment on the water rates, since you brought it up. So the water rates for many years were set not to cover costs. And I said that right, like the rates were set and they did not cover the costs for many years. And so water rates get approved by the Utility and Review Board. And so when they were not covering costs, and they were also not saving for the future. So there was no, the technical term is a depreciation fund, but tucking that money away to do work on the system in the future, that went on for quite some time. So now rates are high because of years of not doing that. So had the rates slowly been doing that over the years, instead the rates skyrocketed in the course of a year, I think, maybe over 2 years, because it's covering many years worth of losses. And that is not allowed under the Utility and Review Board. So that is why the rates are so high. So to compare the sewer rates, again, the numbers that I put up there, they are estimates. Like I'm not putting a stamp on those numbers, but they're well-informed estimates. We did a lot of research to come up with them. And what we would do going forward is every year, we're going to check the costs and make sure that we're covering the costs and make sure we're saving for the future so that we don't have 1 year rates triple, double, whatever we did in that 1 year, because we want to be responsible in this and we do not want people to have surprises like that.
And so I'm going to continue on that also. I believe I heard from previous people who have worked with the municipality. They had meetings down here. And or wherever we put in water systems, and everyone was going to sign up for the water system. And so they probably projected numbers based on everybody signing up for it. And then when the system went through, we have 80 to 100 on our water system. So not everybody signed up. But they kept the rates low to cover or not cover the costs because you want to keep the rates low. But if everybody would have signed up for it, we probably would have had those low rates and saved for the future. But as Alex said, a low number on there, you got to set your rates based on what the review board has for your water systems, and then there's no money being saved for the future. So there was 8 years that went on the water. We're off topic here now, but the rates didn't change for 8 years, and then all of a sudden there was a big increase. And it seemed like a lot, but it actually should have happened every 4 years. So yes, and the rates have been going up, but that's because the rates weren't probably set correctly to plan for the future. And we're doing conservative numbers here with 150 homes. We see 100 homes being built over on the other side there right now. So if that's 50 homes from the rest of the community, and the numbers that we have coming up are conservative, and again, it's a range, but it seems to be a range within what we've done some research on around the province.
Yeah, well, my question to Leanne was pretty simple. We were told, because like I said, I was involved, I provided the link, I was told that it would not exceed $240 for any individual who hooked up and worked. If it did, the province and the municipality was going to make up the difference to keep the system.
So I can't comment on that?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's what we were told.
Yeah, we're not telling you that now.
But we're being told something different.
Yeah, we're not telling you that. We're telling you to be as honest as we can.
Today. But we've already got Pat's word for this. It's a go. This system's a go.
We're 5 years behind.
It's a go. It's a go. And another question, an engineering thing. The water system just went over to the ski lodge. Did the septic line go in as well?
The septic,
Yes or no?
no, but because the septic line can't go in the same trench as the water line.
You broke ground. It would have been wise. I've been in construction my whole life. It would have been wise to lay the road right there in the pipe.
So just as a comment to that, just that, so in talks with the Department of Public Works, because we had to get their approval in order to do that work, you know, their plan is to repave that section of the highway. So when that happens, the plan is to install the pipe at that time, because it didn't make sense to rip up half the road to install, because your water has to be on the inside, like the mountainside, and then it's a drop-off bank on the other side, so there's nowhere to put the sewer. So the idea is that when they go to redo the highway, the sewer line will be going in at that time.
Okay. Great, get something else here.
My name's Kathy McPherson. So first I just wanted to confirm with Straight Engineering, who were the engineers who did the pre-design report?
That was Bruce Latimer.
Okay. So then, just in this conversation that we've had today, we've heard municipal staff say words like, we heard projections, plans look like. You guys are making financial decisions for the county. So when you're talking about projections, you go off of a pre-designed report where all the projections have failed to materialize to date. You're putting in a system that is based on some of those numbers, along with Celtic that has backed out, Parks that has backed out. I've spoken to them personally. They have no plans to come onto the system in the future. And I have that in writing from the superintendent.
Yeah, and that's fine. Those would be later phases, like additional plants that would have been basically been built. Yeah, sorry.
So we've heard this kind of talk from the municipality showing a really terrible lack of financial management, in my opinion, and poor governance. And then we've seen this in the pre-design report where the projections have failed to materialize, but yet here we are 5 years later about to put shovels in the ground that the community found out in a newsletter. No conversation like this was held ever before about the wastewater, despite myself personally asking since December of 2023 after the LIC fiasco that happened. So, also in the pre-design report, there was no risk mitigation, contingency planning, nothing. So if we're going on a hope and a prayer for one single developer to put in this $15 million system, who has already failed to show projections that the Cape Breton Partnership helped you create or gave to you to put in your report, whatever it is. The Cape Breton Partnership, who the developer is also a silver investor too. What is the contingency planning? What if this goes belly up and the community is left with a $15 million sewer system that one, nobody wants to sign on to because people can't afford their water bills here. We have heard that at public statements before. And two, you say that it's a voluntary system. I just want to be very clear. Section 332 of the Municipal Government Act. The engineer, it says connection required to municipal sewer. The engineer may give notice in writing to an owner of a property that may be served by a sewer, requiring that the owner, within the time specified in the notice, connect to the municipal sewer by a building service connector. Furthermore, section 336 of the Municipal Government Act, requirements to connect to a municipal sewer. Where a municipal sewer becomes available to a property served by a private on-site sewage disposal system, something everybody in this room has. The engineer, as per the Municipal Government Act, can be an engineer, or it can be Leanne McCaffrey as the CAO. The engineer may require that the owner of the property to connect to the municipal sewer. Upon receipt of the notice from the engineer requiring connection, the owner shall, within the time specified in the notice, connect the property to the municipal sewer by building service connection. You also have to shut down your own sewer. And then if you don't do it, so if you get a notice and you fail to do it, the engineer will just take someone onto your property, do the work for you, and then send you the bill.
Pat, do you have a question?
I'm making I'm stating out my facts, so I'm making my question. The same thing goes for a private wastewater facility, that's section 340. So the story that we have all been told is that this is a great opportunity and the developer needs the sewer, so like get on board, we get the money, everything's great. The Municipal Government Act, just the same as it allows the municipality to come in and force residents onto a municipal sewer system, it also can force businesses to go onto a municipal sewer system. So, and in 2023, after the LIC fiasco, one of the investors at the Hill wrote a big notice to the community, and he said, we don't want to hurt the community. We don't want you guys to pay for our services. If something doesn't happen by the spring of 2024, we are going to move forward and do our own system, and we're going to leave enough room that should Ingonish explode like Whistler or Collingwood, despite being 6 hours away from an international airport, we'll have the ability to sign on to their system, thereby making it a municipal system. So one, my question is, what is the risk mitigation contingency planning? And two, why are we rushing into this? Aside from that single developer, we're not in a position as a community to take on extra bills or to put in infrastructure that we don't need. So why would we not allow the developer who said they are ready and willing to put in their own and leave room for us to join, do their own thing, and then when we're big enough, if we get big enough, we can come onto it too, responsibly.
So,
Answer.
yeah, so I may let District 5 Councillor, I saw him mouth the words, but Ms. McPherson, there's a difference between, in the Municipal Government Act, may and shall.
Okay.
Yeah, so you said the word may twice in those two sections. So may means that we can do it, you are not required to. So that's the difference between may and shall.
You're incorrect. Because of the way that the rest of the Municipal Government Act, so just for the record, if you're saying that to a room full of people, then it's going to be on the record that that's what you're telling them.
It is on the record.
Okay, yep.
Did you want to say anything to that?
No.
Yeah, it needs some, yeah.
Well, what about the risk planning we're talking about?
Risk in terms of, you mean like that the main development would not happen? Or?
A risk contingency is a requirement of a pre-design report for engineering. There was no risk mitigation in your report. So I'm asking, what is the risk mitigation plan?
That's something that I'd have to go back and discuss with the original author for the pre-design, but we can certainly get an answer for that.
But I don't understand how a table of engineers and scientists are sitting here talking about a system that we need, and you're not, I'm a scientist.
Kathy, he answered your question. Oh, you excuse me.
Excuse
me.
She's talking. Let her say something.
Yes, one moment, please. Just one moment. He answered your question. He doesn't know. He said he will get back to you.
Okay. Yeah.
But you should have had that answer.
I don't know it's an acceptable.
I'm sorry.
You should have had that answer.
How would he know?
Don't say he shouldn't have. He's an engineer.
But he doesn't have it. So he will, I know.
But he should have had it.
He doesn't know all the questions that are coming. I'm sorry.
You're taking up with him by talking to her like that. She asked for an answer, he doesn't have it.
And he doesn't have it, and
he's at a desk here.
excuse me, sir, I am the chair of this meeting.
Exactly.
Don't need to raise her.
Let her say.
Where he does not have the answer, he said he will get it to her. And it'll probably be on that website.
That's right, yeah. We can have it
Kathy,
posted.
you can come up after the meeting, he'll get your email or your phone number, and he will answer that question for you.
Like he said clearly to you, he was asked a question, should have came prepared with the answers.
And
That's what he's saying. No, I'm not gonna argue yes or no about that. That's just what he's saying.
Okay.
And that's what I asked.
Yeah.
There's no answer. We're not getting, you guys should have came with information. You should have came with something more to give us then. You're paying for this, it was too bad. What did you go paying for it? I didn't know it went through. Well, you already got parts ordered. It's obviously gone through. So, and like she said, what does a young woman like this raising her family have to do with paying a septic system for the ski lodge, like Lynn said? Martin said they were prepared to go ahead and do it themselves. Keep on ahead.
Okay, we have 2 more questions. Go ahead, Clifford.
I'll come up to the front so everybody can see me. So, Patrick Austin, I know quite a few of you in the room here. So I am an independent contractor that works with Cape Smoky. So they specifically brought me on I'm an economist that works with small communities and goes around. I've been all around this island and seen these things, and I'm here to make sure that their interests align with the community's interests when they come through. So I have been hearing some disinformation about Smoky and how they're proceeding and going through here. One, Smoky was ready to build their own system before, yes, that there is true, they were going to go ahead and build it. Engineering had already started, but then the county got money from the province to build it, and instead of building our own system, we decided to come on and go with that system so that would bring those costs down. We still could have built our own, and it could have been separate, but this system would still be needed as Ingonish is about to grow. It's going to grow whether you really want it to or not, and that's not because of the Smoky development coming in, but because the communities all over Cape Breton are growing and moving. And this is really important for everybody to kind of understand how this moves and grows, that the benefits are going to come to your community. The benefits are going to grow for your community. You're going to have the ability to be open all winter. You're going to have the opportunity to welcome your families back if they've gone, because there is no land here, which I've been hearing. And seeing this development is going to make this absolutely possible. But this development here, like with the sewer, is not because of Smoky. You're not building it for Smoky. Smoky would build its own. The mere fact that Smoky is here and coming on, it's going to bring these costs down. This is what happens in communities like this. Your taxes go down because you're not going to be able to have places that are able to build.
You just said there was no land.
Well, there's lack. My mistake. There's lack of land. There is land, but as you saw from the division of how it's going with the sewer system, more people are going to be able to build here. How many people here are with businesses, own a business in here? Right? And do you have enough staff?
Yeah. The community is family.
And how many people do you employ?
How many do I employ? I employ 4.
4, okay. Other businesses?
Very hard to get staff, no place for them to live.
You have no place for them to live. And how are you going to get that? You're going to build new homes. If you're going to build new homes, you need...
I own 12 pieces of property.
Sorry?
I own 12 pieces of property, that's right. I put no sewer system at all, I don't want it. It's gonna hurt the harbor, I live on the harbor. I don't want the extra cost, I have a family of 5. Water's enough to be paying for it. I want it writing that my 12 pieces of land, where I own property, does not have to go to the sewer system. That's all I want.
Which they said. It's a sign-on system. Like, I've seen this happen.
Are you going to question or is this a brief? You can put in the brief, you should have been the brief to the table. I'm telling you what you have to do.
I'm not telling anybody what to do. I've heard misinformation saying that Smoky is the reason that this is being built when that's clearly not.
Okay,
the
I think
actual
I just
case.
have a rebuttal to that then. Can someone at the municipality level explain to the public the relationship between the CDDI bylaw that was enacted while the municipality was working with the developer to get municipal water and sewer? Then they enacted a bylaw that if the business or developer has municipal water and sewer, they are then eligible for a tax incentive on every single condominium that they build. Then, this year, in January, CAO McCaffrey at a meeting said that she needs to amend. I asked the council, the new council, I sent an email and I explained it. And I said, I think it's in the best interest of the community to revoke that bylaw so that decisions are not being made at agreed. But instead, Leanne McCaffrey at that meeting, what she said was she needed to amend the bylaw to include Ingonish because they're about to get a septic. So tell me what the connection is between the CDDI bylaw that you colluded, it seems, appears as though you did, with a developer to get services, and then you put it in and now you're admitting that they are going to be getting tax incentives.
Yeah, so first off, yeah, I'm very concerned, very concerned with the words that
I
you
said appears as if it's collusion.
Kathy?
Because when you work
Kathy,
with
just come over,
someone
please.
to get
Kathy,
something, that can be collusion.
Kathy, please, let her answer, then you come back with your rebuttal or whatever.
Yeah, those are strong words.
It is a strong word and
Kathy,
it's a strong
please.
situation.
Kathy?
Yeah. The CDDI bylaw was put in place for items in BDAC, actually. So BDAC has a map on there for the CDDI bylaw. So the CDDI bylaw is a commercial development, it's a commercial district development improvement bylaw. It is to encourage development, commercial development. It does give a rebate to anyone who is hooked up commercially on a municipal water and sewer systems. And so it is to encourage commercial development. Commercial development over 250,000, and there's been some examples in BDAC where this has happened. They have signed up to be part of the CDDI bylaw. It happened when the Inverary burned in 2019 or 2018, and they were putting in an application, so when they rebuild, $250,000, they get a rebate. Cape Smoky is not the only one who would be getting a rebate. If there's going to be development down here, which is what is being planned in the area, commercial development, I encourage any commercial developer who is going to be putting in over $250,000 to apply for this rebate, because 10% of whatever that number is in assessment increase, that happens 10%, 20%, 30% over 10 years, 10% of that number is way more than 100% of zero, which is happening now. And so every time that there is a water and sewer line put in, the amendment has to happen to add the map on the back of the bylaw. So yes, we'd be offering it to Ingonish, to anyone who has a commercial development or who's going to do a commercial development, who is on a water and sewer system, and they are doing more than $250,000 in development. Yep, thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, so here's a question. Do you think it's appropriate to commit to giving sewer and water to a developer, start to apply for federal and provincial applications for sewer and water, then implement the CDDI bylaw, all while working with the same developer? You're not working with multiple developers. You are working with one developer all the way through. You just gave them the water, used our CBB tax, $500,000 plus a grant that you applied for. Now they have their water, now they need their sewer, which is why we're here today. So do you think that that was appropriate to work alongside the developer while you implemented a bylaw that would give them tax incentives?
I didn't know I was working with a developer.
Oh, you didn't? Because I actually have every meeting minute outlined here where you talk about meeting with the developer to talk about spaces that are open.
Yeah, I didn't know I was working individually for a developer. I'm actually interested in all
Mr.
development.
Doucette.
Yeah, hello, my name is Richard Doucette. I grew up in Ingonish, one of the really large families. You know some of my brothers and sisters, there's so many of us. I'm a little upset with the way the meeting is going. I understand the rules of engagement where people would ask a question respectfully to the panel. I apologize, okay? I don't think that's what the majority of this community is about. I understand there are people that object to this going in, have fears, think it's not a good idea. But here's what I understand, what I heard from the meeting. The engineers did an excellent presentation, as did the planner. They identified where the equipment is going to be. They talked about what the allocation availability is for the community. They confirmed any concerns I had that there would be toxins going into the harbor, which sounds like there aren't. The municipality addressed all questions. They were not responded to or treated respectfully like they should be. Okay? And for myself, what my interest is in there, yeah, there are other developers in this community. It isn't just the ski hill. We've been talks, and I feel like I'm sticking my neck out even saying that we're considering doing something with this kind of toxic environment in some in some areas. But we're considering doing about 40 to 50 housing units in the village of Ingonish Beach. And if the sewage system and the septic system isn't available to do that, we're probably just going to pull up and go to some other community to do that work. We understand that in this community, there is a lot of need for affordable housing. There's a lot of need for seniors housing. There's a lot of need for housing for young people like John over here, and particularly John. We should be looking at what we're doing for the next generation that's coming along. Okay? We've been here our whole lives, and we need to be thinking about the new people that are coming in, the expansion community. Here's the thing. In the 50s, 60s, early 70s, in Ingonish Beach, we had a grocery store. We had several businesses. We had a couple of restaurants. We had 2 gas stations. We had a high school from grade primary to grade 12. We have none of that now. Okay? And that's because this community hasn't grown. Think about it. Think about all the kids that graduated from Cabot High School, that had to get up and leave to go to other communities, and now, like my cousin over here, are coming back and want to live in this community. If we had let the community grow and taken advantage of some of the opportunities of the natural resources that are in the community, tourism and everything, we would have a much bigger, more healthy, we'd probably have medical facilities, we'd probably have a school in the community now, we'd probably have some restaurants, and on and on and on. And I would like to think that's where the community is going. And yeah, it's not perfect, and there are problems with it, but let's just keep going forward. You know, my endorsement goes to the engineers, my endorsement goes to the county, and thank you very much for your presentation.
Dave Donovan. First of all, I don't think there's anybody in this room that is against development. We all want development. But we want the communities to be there for our children. You're right. But we want good communities. We don't want them destroyed. We have an industry in this area. It's a fishing industry. It's been going on for hundreds of years. You guys, you're biologists and stuff. I don't know if it was you guys, but somebody there said they spoke with DFO. They consulted with DFO. Who was that?
Oh, yeah, we've started the conversations, yeah.
You started conversations?
Yes.
Because my contacts, now I may not talk to the right people, but my contacts, local DFO contacts in the area, know nothing.
Yeah, they wouldn't know about this is people that we're dealing with.
So how can you contact DFO about a specific area and the local people know nothing about it? Flush rates. Did you do a flush rate in the harbor? You
Yeah,
did?
that's part of the modeling, yeah.
Okay, we haven't seen that, and I know for sure, Matthew will...
I still have my question unanswered about whether you took water from the top of the harbor or the bottom of the harbor.
Oh, I want to get to that too, Matthew. Depth of the harbor, if you put flush rates in the depth of the harbor, your answer was meters to tens of meters. How deep is tens of meters?
So it varies depending on where you're
yes,
on the
it varies.
harbor. If you're on the beach, it's like 0 depth as soon as you get up on the shore, and it goes out,
no
and
kidding.
the tide goes in and out, and we take all that into account.
Okay,
when we're on
okay, what's the depth of the harbor? What's the deepest depth in that harbor?
I don't have the bathymetry map in front of me, I don't memorize the exact depth, but we did use that in the modeling. And in the area we were looking, it went from 0 to approximately 12 meters depth.
12 meters?
Approximately.
Okay.
It varies in tides and silt and inflow and dredging.
The flush rates of the harbor. We get a heavy rain in that area, we get the fresh water staying on top of the water.
Yep.
That fresh water will stay there for weeks. So it's not flush.
With the tidal cycles, it mixes, but you're right, the
We
fresh water
can
lends
tell the
up.
fresh water
There's
level.
always a halocline, so it's always less salty on top and more salty at
Yeah,
depth.
but we can
except for the
definitely
way
see
it's
if we
mixed.
get a heavy rain.
Yep, absolutely.
We see the changes, we can tell that the fresh water is on top, and that will stay there for a week plus, okay?
Yes.
Also, the mixing zone, we talked about the mixing zone. You realize that's an active fishing area?
Yes, and this is nutrient loading that we're limiting, so there won't be any adverse impacts to it.
No?
It's
Hey, when I take
nutrient.
my lobsters, I say, you come on down, I'll feed you something.
I'm not a lobster fan, I actually like tuna better, but.
I've got one more for you, Matthew.
Yes, just a follow-up, just a comment earlier on the cost and the tariffs. And we've been living and breathing that Victoria Co-op
Yep.
since
We all have.
the dawn on January 20th. I'm probably the only person in this room that sent a letter down. I'm still waiting for a response. I got a call from the Washington Post. But tariffs, he just now is implementing in response to Ontario, another 25%. The steel and the aluminum, if any of that's being used in any of the parts, or we order equipment from the US as well, that's going to have a double whammy. Canada's implemented retaliatory tariffs of 25% as well. So whether, and we've checked on a lot of our issues, whether it comes in parts and pieces, whether it comes in as a complete unit, you're paying those tariffs. So I'd be looking at where's the increased cost going to come with this fiasco we have ongoing, and Donald Trump can't be trusted whatsoever. My question is related to the clams and the mollusks in the harbor. Has that been taken into consideration? I heard Larry talk about the Celtic Lodge and everything is fine over there. Well, if you look on the DFO, the area off North Bay Beach of the park, to this side of the Celtic, is closed to shellfish contamination for mollusks because the parts are 14 mpms per 100 milliliters. So very minimal compared to 200 for swimming for bacteria. So I fully expect that if you don't look at that close, that entire clam flats area and the recreational clam fishery will be closed in contamination within the first year.
So the question's about the bacterial loading?
Have you considered the mollusks in the harbor?
So when we look at aquatics, we look at whole ecosystems, not just the clams or just the lobster or just the fish. It's the whole ecosystem. That's what the DFO regs require. And as far as the bacteria loading, currently, yes, there's a 200 swimming limit for bacteria in water. Most lakes in the province, pristine or not, by the end of the summer from duck poop alone, generally get above those levels. It's not every lake, but most. Like, it doesn't matter if there's development or not, but if there is development around it, any form of development, if they're on septic fields and beds, the levels tend to be higher than if they're on a treatment system. It's sterilized coming out of there, so the water coming out the pipe has no or virtually no, like sub-100, sub-10 counts. And if there's any problem with it, they have to optimize the system to bring it down. So that's what the UV does. It kills the bacteria. Now, for your point of the water, we do have baseline sampling, and the counts are already in the harbor in the hundreds or thousands for total colonies. We do the baseline assessment before we do any modeling.
And I will note that the samples are taken from various depths. We do have a piece of equipment that we can put down through the water column, so we're not just sampling the surface, or we're not just sampling at the beach. There are several stations, and we are using a capture method to take water through the water column.
Yeah, we're doing it as per DFO protocols and CCME and Environment Canada. We don't step outside those lines. The scientists, we follow
One
that.
little bit there, I know people are waiting, is there been consideration for whether with salmon in there, migratory birds, those things can trigger and full-blown environmental assessments as well.
Yep.
And just to wrap up what David said on behalf of Victoria Quad Fisheries, we're not opposed to development, very clear, but development without, not at the detriment of existing industry.
Yes.
We're putting $40 million in sales internationally and 139 people and $4.1 million in wages last year. And so we support development, but it has to be done properly.
Right.
And proper consultation, which we haven't seen today.
Well, and for your surety, I guess would be the best way to put it, when the system becomes operational, there is pilot scale studies and monitoring to make sure it's doing its job. And then there's ongoing operational monitoring to ensure that there's no problems with it. So it's not something that's just set up and walked away, like a septic field is. But it's much better than that. Generally speaking, that's why the feds and the province push municipalities to move to central supply.
I appreciate the assurances, and from our perspective, and Mr. Brad Kennedy is behind me here, we've retained services CBCL Limited, who are quite experienced in sewage systems,
we
to
work
provide
with
advice to
Yep.
us, okay? Not to stop anything, but we want to make sure that we have an independent.
That's exactly what this is about, and you're right. And for context, the other communities throughout Cape Breton that have similar, if not the same system, it's an improvement in water quality that results from those central treatment systems, because the septic field, when it's first set up, works okay. But if it's on the shoreline, and to, forget who the woman was that asked about it, but if it's 20, 25, 30 years old, it's not going to be operating the same as a new one today, and it's not going to be as good at sterilizing things as these systems are. If that gives you any assurance.
So if you've done your environmental assessment, you're aware that there's lobster down in that harbor?
Yes.
Do you know who owns that lobster tank?
We don't get into specifics for personal information or commercial information. We're just
Well, I'll
looking
tell
at
you
the
what,
environment.
I own it, and no one has contacted me to let me know anything about that. What kind of insurances do I have that I can put my product there, my livelihood in that water, and it's not gonna die because of your effluent?
So, for context, that is DFO's responsibility for monitoring and enforcement. But DFO is responsible for monitoring and assessment, and they're the ones that put out the notices about no fishing or fishing or whatever.
And they're the ones that give me the usage of that corner of the harbor.
Yes, there's a license.
And if you guys lose that harbor and ruin it for me, then I lose my livelihood.
Completely understand. I have cousins who fish lobster off PEI. I know what you're saying.
What you're saying about the other places?
Yeah.
Our harbor is 10 fathom deep, 12 fathom deep in places.
Right.
It's 2.5 fathom at the gut.
Yeah.
So that top 2 feet of water that you were talking about earlier,
Yeah.
that's what circulates in there, not the bottom stuff. And we
Agreed.
can prove that. He knows all about holding lobsters. All the other places that you've talked about is right out into the ocean, where your tidal waters will take it away.
Right.
Our harbor does not flow like that. I don't care if you let the whole gut come in.
Correct.
It's not gonna flow because it's 2.5 fathom and 10 fathom right behind it. So it can't possibly push back out through that harbor.
You're right. Out in the channel, the deeper portions, I'm not disputing that. But the mixing zone is only 100 meters. It's not the
We're still
whole harbor.
mixing in that harbor with the same
Yes.
water and the same water and the same water.
And
It's
the
not
water-
tidal bore and it's not going out. That mixed water is not leaving.
The water that comes out the pipe is fresh water, relatively speaking, low salt, and it mixes up the water column. It
But it's gonna
doesn't.
be a lot more water than usually goes into our harbor. Because we've got 2 main brooks already coming into the harbor that make it a freshwater or brackish water.
For context,
If you're putting so much more in, that's gonna make more fresh water in that harbor and less lobsters around for us. Not to mention, my pound is at risk.
for context, all the septic fields that discharge into the ground, that groundwater discharges into the harbor. So it's not like more water's
Yes, but that's
going
not
into the
coming
harbor.
over.
Matthew,
It's
can you
just
just
mixing
let-
different.
It's
let
going
him
through the
answer?
dirt and it's clean as it goes. We're not stupid. We understand that
Yes.
that happens, okay?
Yes.
We understand. We know that this community's old. But if you're gonna pump hundreds of thousands of liters of effluent into our harbor,
Yes,
that's not normal. That's not natural for our harbor to take.
it's
How
treated
can you-
effluent.
I realize it's treated effluent, okay? I
Yeah.
get that. But like I said, there's 100 million liters an hour coming down that friggin' mountain behind Power Brook.
Yep,
That's where our water treatment plant comes from. So how do you know that you're not gonna ruin our harbor?
again, that's where the ongoing operational monitoring is in place to ensure the system is working.
So after it's ruined and I lose my livelihood,
Modern systems don't ruin them.
And what's
Storage
gonna happen
systems
then
or
for
failures
guys like
I'm
can.
gonna cut it off
Okay.
there, because we're not getting anywhere. David, I'm sorry, we have the,
I just, earlier, when Richard was talking, those of you who don't know me, you don't know me because I moved away from here when I was 19 years old. Because there was no work, because there were no jobs for me to go to, no place for me to build a house, there is now. 40 years later, I decided to move back home. I could have built my house anywhere on the planet, but I chose here. Because I grew up here, I love it here, I still love it here. The one thing I don't love is the fact that we seem to be going backwards. I know not everyone is happy with the sewage treatment plant. And to be honest with you, if I were the type of person who didn't trust the science, who didn't trust the machinery that was going to be handling the wastewater, if I didn't trust the fact that it was going to be putting clean water back into the harbor, and for any of you who don't know where I live on the harbor, I would be completely and totally against this. However, I do trust the science. I do want this area to prosper. I do want to have something for my children, my grandchildren to be able to enjoy the way I enjoyed it when I was young. That's what I base my opinion on. That's all I had to say. My phone number and my email address is on the website. If you have any questions for me, or if you just want to yell at me, that's fine too.
question for you, sir. If you live on the harbor?
I do.
When it rains, what color is the harbor from the ski hill? from the ski hill runoff, that little brook that used to be there, what color does the harbor turn when it rains? It turns brown from the silt that comes down through there, because they've moved 3 times now, they've changed
And we're
it.
getting off subject here. We're getting off subject here. We're here to talk about we're talking about the wastewater project, not the runoff off the mountain, I'm sorry.
If they don't
Dave,
care about
the
the runoff,
final
it's
say,
the
Mr.
wastewater.
Barretto.
What is proposed finish? It's gonna be done in a couple of phases, I would say. The first phase is obviously gonna be at the ski. The second phase will continue on to the park, I would assume.
Yep.
Is that correct?
So we kind of have the sewage, the overall project into 3 kind of smaller projects. So we have the outfall that's going to be coming from the plant going out to the harbor, the sewage treatment plant, like the building and the tanks itself, and then there's the collection system that would, run through the community and to the treatment plant. So the first item we were looking at, because it requires the most amount of permits, is the outfall. So we have the design drawings in progress, and that goes along with the applications that go out to, DFO, Department of Environment, Transport Canada, and also Department of Public Works, because we have to cross the road. So that's kind of the first thing we're focusing on. And then from there, at the same time, we're working on the sewage treatment plant itself. The collection system is right now probably the furthest behind, just because we need snow melt in order to go out and do our surveys to be able to pick up all the roads and be able to design that system.
Well, I guess, in clarification, my question is, is it gonna be operating at the ski lodge, and then within 3 to 5 years, it will continue on to the park and be done in a phase system like that? Because that's, to me, that would make sense. They need this septic system right away. I don't, but I do want to add on to it.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
With my business, I want to add to it. I'd be crazy to add to my septic system that I just put in.
Yep.
To facilitate more units, if
Sure.
this is going right by my door.
Yeah.
That's why this question is imperative, if I get an answer,
Yeah.
going forward.
Yeah, so the sewage treatment plant will be constructed and operating. The collection system will come after. The idea is that as the collection system's going in, and the main lines are being put through the streets, and if there's people that do decide, that want to hook up to it, if a contractor's there installing the main line, well, if they just got to drive off into your yard, dig a trench, and put your service in, then that could be an option as well, right? It could potentially save on the homeowners.
5 years, 3 years, when are we going to?
Probably,
I'm not going to be able to flush my toilet and send it to the system.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
It'd probably be around 3 years.
3 years, if everything goes through.
Yeah, so the design will be happening over the course of this summer into the fall, and then be tendering into the next year. This is, it's a fairly significant system, so it'll probably have to be done over a couple of years.
And I'd like to say thanks to all of you, from all of us. We're not a bunch of ruffian assholes here. I'm probably the worst one you're gonna have to deal with, because, I don't sit silent. I refuse to.
Nope, that's fair.
And this just scratching the surface, right? There's a lot of people here that feel very supportive of what you're doing. Can they afford it? Can Ingonish afford it? These are the big hurdles that we're looking at as a citizen.
Yeah.
Like, we were living here, all of a sudden I got a cell phone bill, I got cable bill, a satellite bill, I got more bills, water bills, I don't have a septic bill. I never had this stuff 30 years ago.
Yeah.
When is it gonna stop? How can we survive in a world that keeps happening?
Yeah.
That's why we really need all the answers we can.
But Dave, you gotta remember, we're part of the community too, and I'm sure, we don't want extra bills either, but. So I wanna thank everybody for coming today. I think it was quite informative. If you have any questions for these people, we're gonna have it on the website. So there's a sign-up sheet there. If you wanna put your email address on it, that we can send a link to you directly. And if you have any other questions for them or for us,
contact your counselor or myself or any of the other counselors or directly to the office. And
Just one thing, I know there was a couple of questions about the actual collection system. I know it wasn't very visible on the TV there, so we do have a couple drawings here that if anybody wants to have a look at them, then I'll have them out on the table here.